When we talk about being the right role model for our children, it is often weird when we now hear, fathers say that, oh, a man could be a good father, but a terrible husband. Now, this is disingenuous because children do not learn by what you tell them. Children learn by what they see. So we need to be good role models to our daughters. And what do I mean by that? You could be a terrible husband to your daughter. Now your daughter is looking at you. You become a role model to her when it's time for her to get into romantic relationships with other men. You become a role model to her because she is going to emulate how you treated her mother. And to her, that would be her norm, her standard of choosing the right man. It takes a while when a daughter sits back and introspects and see and understands that she could separate herself from her own upbringing, before she's able to detach. But ordinarily, she is looking at you as her role model, and because she's looking at you as her role model, she is going to choose men that shares the same standard, the same traits with you, because that's what she's seeing. You become her baseline, her standard, her foundation to the man that she would want to be like. Now, most men or most daughters, they marry men that shares similar qualities, characteristics with their fathers. The same thing with boys, they marry women that share certain traits with their mothers. Now, except in situations whereby the mother or the father is a very terrible or horrible person, then there's kind of a change in how the child would see the mother. Except you're a horrible person, then the child would now have a different orientation. I will now strive to detach. But most times, children do not detach. This is why when you see a man who is a wife beater, there is a 90% probability that his children, the son, would also grow up to be wife beaters as well. And the daughters would see it as a norm, as a standard. When they're suffering or passing through domestic violence, they would not see it as an abuse. Rather, they would accept it as a norm because their father beat up their mother. So to them, they don't really have the strong moral foundation or the strong will to detach from abusive situations because they grew up in an environment that is so full of dysfunction. So when I hear men say that a man can be a good father and be a terrible husband, you're also a terrible father because you are showing the wrong precedence for your daughter to emulate. You, as a role model, is showing to your daughter that it is okay for her husband to be unfaithful, for her husband to beat her, for her husband to lack emotional intelligence, for her husband to be everything that is horrible, or to not be a provider and to not be a protector to the mother. So you're teaching your daughter that it is okay for you to be in a dysfunction and also somehow thrive in it. But it is not so. So by setting that wrong precedence by how you treat her mother, you are negatively impacting and teaching your daughter the wrong things of life. So it is not about you being a good father because you're showing that negative aspect of life to your daughter due to the way you treat her mother, you are also a bad and a terrible father as well. So we need to stop romanticizing this idea that, oh, a man can be a good father but a terrible husband. We need to stop romanticizing it because there are impacts, there are negative impacts by the way a father treats the wife, and the daughter is looking up to him, and also in relating that in her own life, you will see the manifestation. You see the manifestation of the negative impact of what you've inculcated into her. She is going to emulate you, and when she wants to choose a husband, she would also choose somebody as horrible as you. Then in her own life, will now start trying to romanticize the idea that, oh, that her own husband could be a bad husband but can be a very good father figure to her children. Do you get my drift?